action item for the board. We have requests from several speakers, and I have invited Supervisor Baugh to read out the name of the speaker and then the following speaker. But in advance of that, I'm going to ask Mr. Lees to set the stage relative to this agenda item. Mr. Lees.
No, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Chairman Keogh, members of the board, by setting the stage, I'm assuming that you're referring to the action that the Board of Supervisors took a few years ago as it relates to identifying a certain monetary amount that will go towards the Burney Library. And at that time, there was there's a couple actions taken as it related to dollars that had been collected from the turbine project that went in Eastern Shasta County. At that meeting, the Board of Supervisors allocated $400,000 to be committed to the new Burney Library, and it would be noted that it was to be last in. It would be as the result of all the fundraising and dollars required to build and complete a new Burney Library. And so that money was, we in essence put a fence around that money, allocated those dollars so that it wouldn't be spent anywhere else, and that was the action that was taken.
Thank you, Mr. Lees. Supervisor Baugh, please.
Oh, I was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If that's okay. I just wanted to be able to take this opportunity to welcome many members of the Intermountain area, friends of mine. We have a very special group of men and women here today from Burney. These folks that came to join us are pillars of the community and strong leaders, and basically are movers and shakers in the area. And I think it's only appropriate that they share their own story about the importance of how the Burney Library is an integral part of a functioning community in the town of Burney. So with that, Mr. Baugh.
Mr. Baugh has asked me to clarify something. The agenda indicates a presentation. We've received the background information from Mr. Lees. We acknowledge that this is a non-action item, and we are here this morning to hear remarks from individuals concerned with Eastern Shasta County and the establishment of an expanded library. So, Mr. Baugh.
Thank you, Chairman Keogh, and thank you, Supervisor Rickard. There are many who have asked to speak this morning and want to share that story that Supervisor Rickard was referring to. So I'm going to call them the first name and the second name. So if the person that's next in the queue could make their way over there, then we can greet people and know who's up on deck here. So Melanie Kearns is to be followed by Pat Tell, please. Melanie, welcome.
And individual speakers will be accorded 3 minutes, if you would.
We'll do our best.
Thank you so much.
And good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for allowing us to speak with you. I am Melanie Kearns, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors for Friends of the Intermountain Libraries. For many years, the issue of having a better facility and location for the Burney Library has been coming to the Board of Supervisors' attention. Each time, there has been no resolution, and in my opinion, an inordinate amount of money has been spent by the county and by FOIL to prepare a study on what could be done. We know what can be done and are confident that all of the major obstacles that were present in the past can now be overcome with some cooperation and coordination between FOIL and Shasta County. You will find the background in your package we provided. What we are asking is that the $400,000 currently being held be released to help purchase and refit a building on Main Street in Burney. The location is ideal, not on one of the back streets where no one sees it. There is off-street parking, which is not the case at the current location. No matter the weather, the only parking is on the street. There is no privacy because the facility is one open room and a small room at that. The building is only about 1,700 square feet. The new facility has over 4,300 square feet, and we would be able to provide privacy for the literacy program. The current facility is so small that we have almost no room for children's programs. But we can have a special children's corner in the new facility because a grant has been received from the Burney Fall River Rotary Club in the amount of $25,000 to make it a comfortable state-of-the-art corner for all the children in the Intermountain area. We had been asked to demonstrate that we could raise the money to complete this project, and we feel we have done that. We have over $134,000 now, but we are in jeopardy of losing the grant amounts because we are running out of time. We have a plan. The costs are in your package also. By using in-kind work with licensed contractors along with volunteers, we can refit the building for a reasonable amount. The Intermountain area has shown itself to be self-reliant and willing to complete projects. There are examples of our tenacity, like the community swimming pool. This is a project that will benefit many people, children, teens, seniors, our Native American population, and just all of us who enjoy a good buke. We need to have the money released. It's doing no one any good just sitting in a bank. The citizens in the Intermountain area need to know they are a valuable part of Shasta County.
Thank you, Melanie.
May I read one thing, please? We gave our students at the elementary school little cards to come to you. And I wanted you to know that Jocelyn in the 3rd grade says, in the new public library, I can learn hairstyles and how to be a secret spy.
Thank you, Melanie.
Pat Bell to be followed by, my apologies, I was making notes there, Charlotte Connolly, please.
Good morning, I'm Pat Bell. I'm a member of the FOIL board as well, and I've chosen to read a letter that Cindy Dodds, the executive director of the Tri-County Community Network, submitted on this topic. In late 1990, the McConnell Foundation purchased the long-vacant Bank of America building on Main Street in Burney so that a youth and senior center could be created. The plans were a little vague and the operational funding was not fully fleshed out. What we did have is zeal and belief that if we followed the path the community was leading, it would end well. In a Record Searchlight article on February 3rd, 2017, Lee Salter was quoted as saying, "But it was the community center in Burney that immediately stands out to Salter when asked about the projects he's proud that the foundation financially supported. It was the only grant Lee McConnell voted against and the rest of the board voted for," he said. "You'd think it was the one best grant we ever made," Salter said, the board told her. She did after seeing how it was maximally utilized by so many groups. Lee Salter and the McConnell board weren't playing it safe. They weren't insisting on being the last money in. They were betting on Burney and believed in the vision that the community held. More than 2 decades have passed and we continue to flourish and enjoy tremendous community and regional support. I'm asking you to take a chance on Burney. The fine volunteers of FOIL have devoted years raising funds and awareness and making the Burney Branch Library the best it can be. They've worked tirelessly for years attempting to bring a grander vision to fruition. They firmly believe that the residents of the region need and deserve a better library. They value literacy and understand the impact that it has on our residents and their sustainability. They've received commitments from residents and funders. All of that is at risk unless the Main Street location can be purchased now. I implore you to believe in the residents of Burney, the members of FOIL, and the power of community to do big things. I ask that you release the $400,000 that's been designated for the library project from the windmill funds, that are specifically dedicated to benefit the residents of Burney. Please resist the impulse to play it safe. You have the power to move this project forward. Your action can demonstrate your belief in the library dream. I'm confident that you will be proud to have played a part in making this dream come true. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
May I read a short card?
Sure, you
Yep,
got
okay.
26 seconds.
A 5th grader named Emily writes, "To whom it may concern, I'd like a new library because I want more E.R. Bet books. I also want movie books. I'd love it if we had better books. I love more shelves. I wish for bigger space. I asked for comfortable seats. I'd like a snack area. I also love bookmarks. Sincerely, Emily.
Thank you.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Followed by Fran Collier, please.
Okay, I'm Charlotte Conley, a member of FOIL. This letter is from Elizabeth at Burney Disposal. Dear Supervisors, it has come to our attention that members of FOIL will be addressing the board at your meeting on September 12th to present their plan for a new Intermountain Library facility and request the release of the $400,000 which was set aside from the Hat Creek Ridge Wind Project for the purchase of a new library building in Burney. Burney Disposal Incorporated, its stockholders, management, and employees fully support the efforts of FOIL and formally ask that the board stand behind its efforts to bring this essential service to our community. The people of the Intermountain area are badly in need of a new library and all of the services it would offer. The plan presented by FOIL would provide a central location visible to the public where the library would be easily accessible to everyone. The old library building was built in the late 60s and does not meet current building codes. It is located in a flood plain down an obscure side street. It does not provide adequate air conditioning in the summer or heat in the winter. The fluorescent lighting is insufficient and seating is limited. Parking is insufficient. When it snows in winter, the library may be closed because the street is often not plowed until late afternoon or the next day. The size of the current library also limits capacity, the availability of books, as well as the number of computers and other resources. As you know, library services are vital to a community and its citizens. Libraries provide access to computers and internet, which are necessary to today's school children, job seekers, and anyone else in need of information or outside services. Libraries are also vital to stimulate young minds, often inciting a love of reading and learning in the very young, far before they set foot in their first classroom. In a rural community such as ours, the library can be a ticket to the outside world, providing encouragement to high school and college students to reach for their dreams and set goals far beyond the limits of our town, county, or state. Libraries celebrate imagination, creativity, lifelong learning, and dreams, all things that are sorely needed in the Intermountain area. September 12th, you will be given the opportunity to stand in solidarity with this important mission and provide something positive for children. Students, parents, seniors, and everyone in the Intermountain area will be able to enjoy and benefit from a new, improved library facility. Please stand behind the people of the Intermountain area and support the FOIL plan to bring a new library to our community. Thank you for the work you do for the people of Shasta County and for your public service. Burney Disposal Incorporated extends its gratitude for your continued support of this unincorporated area. Its services, small businesses, and citizens. Best regard, Elizabeth C. Tyler, Director of Communications and Human Resources, Burney Disposal.
Now, Ms. Conley, I believe you probably have a postcard also. What a surprise.
It's very short.
Okay.
This is from Alita, who's in TK, which is transitional kindergarten, so she's 4 years old. In the new public library, I can read a book to my dog, Molly.
That's great. Our next speaker. Thank you very much. Fran, you're up.
Thank you.
But before you proceed, Mr. Cruz, these very riveting postcards, should they be made part of the record?
If you want to read a postcard, it's in the back.
They do not, it's up to the people who are representing this organ if they wish to include them as part of the record. If they wish to, that's fine. If not, if they just want to read them, that's fine as well.
We would welcome receiving the postcards. All right, Mr. Baugh.
Fran Collier, followed by Bill Campbell, please.
Thank you. My name is Fran Collier. I too am a board member of the Friends of the Intermountain Library, and it's a pleasure to be here before you today. Very simply, you've heard FOIL's plan. You have a package in front of you that describes the details of what that plan is. you've heard a sampling of letters from citizens within our community that summarize the needs and the benefits that the library will bring to not only Burney, but the whole Intermountain area, the eastern part of Shasta County. In my conversations with other residents and business people in the community, they echo these sentiments. And in our conversations, they say, this has gone on for so long. Can we please resolve this? We need this facility now. The need has already been established by the board. You've allocated $400,000 from the windmill project, set aside specifically for a new facility in Burney that serves the whole Intermountain area. At this point, we're really asking you to partner with FOIL to make this dream a reality. That this can be a showcase that benefits the entire communities within eastern Shasta County. FOIL has a plan. We have licensed contractors. We have community support and volunteers that are willing to make this project a reality. We can raise additional monies once the property has been purchased. Time and again, we've been told by grantors that we need to have a facility for them to consider any further actions. So at this point, I really implore you to partner with FOIL, with the Burney, with the Intermountain area community to make this project a reality. I know the agenda item says that this is a non-action item today, and I simply ask you, what will it take to bring this matter to a vote, to release the funds, to create this library, to work with the community for the greater good of the entire Intermountain area?
Good.
And I do not have a postcard to read. I will simply.
Could you borrow one?
Well, actually, we have several hundred postcards. So, and we'll be happy to leave them with you to peruse. They're just, some are pictures drawn by kindergartners. One that shows a shark that's reading a book. Some very entertaining and very important features to the students in our area.
Good.
Thank you very much for your attention.
So next we have Bill Campbell, to be followed by John Alexander Colvio.
Colvin.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors, the staff, and the general public. I'm Bill Campbell, immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Burney. We believe in this project as a club and committed $10,000 for the project. It's sitting in a bank account. We invited Rotary District 5160 and the Rotary Foundation to join us. They added $15,000, so we have a total pool of $25,000. And why did they do this? Because this met three goals that the Rotary Foundation has for every community and for throughout the world, and for the Rotary clubs to follow. One is literacy, obviously. Two is child health. And three is community development, because a good library enhances a community and enables that community to develop further. You've heard earlier from Melody about the current space. It really is small, it's very noisy, it's not conducive to the library, it's not what we think of as a library. And if we added children in that space, not only would it be cramped, the noise level would go up significantly. It would really not be conducive to being a library. So I ask you to picture this, as Estelle Getty says on the Golden Girls. Our vision is that we have a children's corner, one room dedicated to children. In this room, the children can learn and have fun and participate in literacy programs and community education activities, and be a latchkey place for the parents to be assured that their child is safe in that 1 to 2 hour period between school and the time they get off work. But in this room, we have child-sized bookshelves, tables, chairs, And on the floor, we're gonna have what I call a mural, which is just on the wall, but I call it a mural. It's an outline of the Intermountain area, which means it'll have an outline of mountains and trees and rivers and so on. And I remember as a child when I was going to my grandparents' house, and they had this beautiful hill outside their front yard, and I used to take my toy cars and construction equipment to make roads. I was being a little creative. Unfortunately, I don't have the left brain skills to be an engineer, so I turned my endeavors to television, and fortunately I had a successful career. My vision, and the vision of the Rotarians, is that we have the same opportunity for children in the Burney area, in the Intermountain area, because the participants won't be just from Burney, because it will have some first-class children's programming. It will draw kids from Fall River, from MacArthur, and probably from Beaver and other areas as well, Montgomery Creek. The 50-year lifespan, projected lifespan of the library, for us, is wonderful, because the projection, and this is from the library, that over that 50 years, 25,000 children, or 2,000 children a year, will be able to use that facility. For us as Rotarians, boy, we wish we had that investment for other projects. That's $1 a child spread out over 50 years. That's a great return on our investment.
Bill, how about a few concluding remarks in the postcard?
I don't have a postcard, but I'll get some concluding remarks. You wouldn't think.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm taking longer. That's my television background. Anyway, one important point that you really should be aware of and to consider is that the grant we received from the district and the Rotary Foundation was a 2-year grant. 15 months have passed. We have 9 months now to acquire the lot, to acquire the building, conclude it in escrow, finalize all the architectural and all the permits, and build the Children's Center before June the 29th of 2018, because on June 30th, I have to turn in the final report. If it doesn't happen, we have to return that money to the Rotary Foundation, and the $10,000 from the club will likely be absorbed in other projects.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, sir. John is next.
Thank you.
Followed by?
My apology, followed by Michael Kearns, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly. I want to say one thing, I didn't bring a postcard either because I want you to know that adults read too. And serving as a volunteer for the Intermountain Teen Center, an opportunity came, these are teens, 13 to 18, to tutor. So I went to the library to look at the resources on math and some other things. And so just as an adult, it definitely needs expansion. It needs expanded area. It needs more books. Also, I wanted to make the point that having sat in with the Foil board and listened to their vision, it's not only the library building, it's not only the books, it's the vision to make this a hub, an information hub for the Intermountain area, where people from Big Bend, Round Mountain, the entire Intermountain area have a location that they can avail themselves of some of the fine library services that Shasta County has. Things that are offered here in Reading, programs for adult literacy, programs for the veterans that have not been available in Burney, both because of location, also because the internet access is not as good as it would be in the new building. Such things as that. I don't want to belabor it. The final point that I wanted to make is that this would be such a big, appreciated thing if the board were to approve this. Sometimes the people in the Intermountain area feel left out. There's a feeling amongst a lot of people that the Intermountain area, through tourist taxes, real estate taxes, and various different fees and stuff, generates a considerable amount of revenue for the amount of population that we have. We can generate a lot of revenue for the county. And sometimes people wonder if there's due equitable distribution back to the county. I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying that some people have that feeling. And this is money that's already been allocated. So it's not asking for money back from those revenues, but it's asking that the money be released. And the final point I want to make is, 29 seconds, okay, got time, is I think that this model, in a time, where there are a lot of budget crises and tricky budgets, I think that this is an opportunity to seize on this model, to extend the trust to the people in the county, that they will be able to bear the burden, as they have with Tri-Counties Network and other projects, so that, to get a new paradigm, a new working model. I understand your liabilities and your concerns, but I just say, trust the people of the Intermountain area because we'll get it done. We always do.
Thank you, John.
Michael Kearns will be followed by Peggy Olea, please.
Good morning. My goal here is to make up for people who did not have the cards. First, let me say that I also am here in support of the Rotary efforts to provide improved literacy for the Intermountain area. Rotary is committed to literacy both locally and as worldwide initiatives. But let me read for just three quick folks who are extremely more articulate than I. First, from Sarah, 5th grade, to whom it may concern. I would like a new library because it would be more fun. I think it should be bigger, there should be a snack area, there should be longer and higher shelves. I love to read, so please upgrade the library. There should always be a lot of children's books for little kids. Also, there should be more computers for research. So these are some of the ways you guys can make it better. Sincerely, Sarah. Much more succinct from, Kylie of the 6th grade, more books, more knowledge. And in conclusion, from Talon of the 4th grade, read facts about rocks. Thank you.
Mike, thanks a lot.
Peggy Olea to be followed by Kimberly Ross, please.
Good morning.
Good morning, Peggy.
I'm Peggy Olea with the Shasta Library Foundation. The Shasta Library Foundation believes that libraries transform communities, and we are committed to improving county-wide library services and a public-private partnership. We appreciated this board's leadership during the community efforts that resulted in the construction of the Reading Library and the formation of a joint city-county library system. Burney citizens were very supportive of the Reading effort because we all recognize the importance of a strong hub in improving library services in our county. Although Burney benefits with access to centralized digital and print resources, the overwhelming use experienced by the Reading Library has demonstrated the importance of adequate physical facilities and the opportunities they provide in meeting community informational needs. I think these opportunities are especially important in geographically isolated areas, and I hope you will continue to work with the Burney community to find a mutually agreeable option for improved library presence in the Intermountain area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olea.
Kimberly Ross will be followed by Kim Niemer, please.
Good morning, Kimberly.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Ross, and I'm here today as the chair of the Library Advisory Committee. Some of you may also know me as a former reporter for the Record Searchlight. I did that job for 10 years, and I happen to remember in 2006 when the windmills were first proposed for Hatchet Ridge outside Burney, because I reported that news for the newspaper. I read back over some of my old stories, which, by the way, I found on the Shasta Public Library's online news database. And I was reminded of the sentiments of Eastern Shasta County residents back then. Some didn't mind the windmills, some did, but everyone wanted the Intermountain area to gain from having the wind turbines built in their backyard. In one of my stories, one Burney resident and businessman put it this way: he wanted to be sure that they don't forget us again. Indeed, $400,000 from the Windmills project was set aside in the Hatchet Ridge Community Benefit Fund, specifically for a Burney Library building. And I'd like to say to today's board, this proposed library building is the project you've been waiting for. This is the solution that your Eastern County constituents want you to act on. The dedicated members of the Friends of the Intermountain Library were given an assignment by the county years ago to identify an appropriate, affordable building to better house their library, and they have more than met that challenge. The large building in an ideal downtown location on Main Street is now appraised at $281,000, and the renovations needed at a cost of approximately $80,000. Other renovations will be achieved with in-kind donations that the Friends have already secured from many local businesses and supporters, which again demonstrates the community support for a new library building. Quality of life does suffer when snow blocks the road leading to your only library, which may also provide your only internet access. The Burney Library doesn't have enough space inside or parking outside. It lacks adequate heat in the winter and no AC in the summer. For Intermountain residents, the library is a vital community need, yet its building is sorely lacking. We on the Library Advisory Committee have been monitoring the progress of this effort, and we unanimously support spending the windmill funding on the proposed Burney Library building. We urge you to act on this opportunity and to act before business supporters lose patience, which we understand is a real risk. It would be a terrible shame to see those supporters withdraw their generous help. I hope you'll review the proposed figures and building carefully and find that they add up to a successful new library. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Kim Niemer will be followed by Laura Burnett, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors. As you know, I oversee our contract with our library operations and work closely with the Library Advisory Committee. And so I wanted to once again thank you for this joint venture that we have on the Shasta Public Library system, and acknowledge really that the Burney and Anderson branches derive tremendous benefit from investments that we make in the Reading Library that then filter all the way up the mountain and down the valley. I also am very familiar with public-private partnerships and shepherd many of those through myself. I think it's very important that there's a lot of good ideas out there and that they need to be tested. And I can assure you that I believe that the test that FOIL's been put through to this point has come through in flying colors in terms of them demonstrating their capacity to not only sustain community support, but to raise funding. And so we're kind of at that place where I think that they have done their best to carry this effort as far as they can. And now really we need someone from the county board of organization, the organization to be assigned as a liaison with direction and authority to help them. I was listening to Dominic get his award and I thought, amen, brother, like getting county contracts through is no easy task. And so getting projects through is even harder. So somebody that's familiar in Mr. Minturn shop or otherwise that could work cooperatively with this group and help them jump those hurdles to a successful completion, I think is very real, but there's just insight and knowledge here at the county that they don't have, that they will need to go to the next level. So while this is a non-action item, we would hope that the board could provide some direction in terms of getting that staff support so that there can be a more specific proposal brought forward shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Niemer. Laura, may I make a couple of remarks before you? Ladies and gentlemen, in my mind, there is a very close relationship between public libraries and public parks. Now, at the risk of embarrassing Ms. Niemer, she has been a champion for public parks in the Reading community, and recently she brought to a successful conclusion the continuance of Magnolia Park, which is a neighborhood park. And the children in that area benefit greatly from her efforts and the team that she put together. So Ms. Niemer, thank you for your efforts, both for the parks and libraries. And we appreciate your presentation. Laura, thank you for your generosity in allowing me to say that.
And Chairman Keogh, Laura is our final speaker this morning.
Very good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, board and staff. My name is Laura Burnett, and I represent Library Systems and Services. We are the company that provides the staff and the librarians in all 3 Shasta County libraries. I'm here today to talk about the staff's perspective and also to let you know that our company of librarians fully supports this effort. And we see a lot of groups putting together library plans, and this one is rock solid. I am confident that we will be able to find a financial model that we can work with under our current contract funds to operate the proposed facility as the FOIL has put it together. I can tell you, because I deal with statistics on all libraries that we run across the country, that better visibility and easier access from being on a state route is going to equal more usage and better usage for everyone in the Intermountain area, as well as tourists coming through. The new facility will also better accommodate a lot of technology that I know we would love to be able to put into the Burney Library, but the current facility does not allow. And having these technologies will also allow us to have more hours in that particular location. The large number of card holders that you have just for this small area is amazing, and the superior quality of the collection that we're able to offer, because you have these 3 libraries sharing all of their materials, is a reflection that Burney loves its library and deserves to have a facility that will meet their current needs and future needs.
Laura, thank you. Appreciate it. Supervisor Vaughn?
Ms. Burnett, I have a question for you, please. The chairman's going to allow it. I want to clarify something, make sure I heard it correctly. Did I hear you say that there would be no additional funds needed to operate this new library? Is that what you said?
So what I am referring to, sir, is a contract that our company, I monitor as a contract administrator with Ms. Niemer, that includes the staff and materials that those funds that go into the library. And what Kim and I have worked together on is we've made sure that we will not need to be asking for any additional funds for staff or for materials than what is in the current contract that we have for 5 years.
So here's the reason I'm asking that question. Recently, through Ms. Niemer, you all approached the city of Anderson, and I had understood, and you need to correct me then, I'm perhaps misinformed, the same request was going for Burney Library as well. You approached the city of Anderson because you needed more funds to operate the library, and I had been told that was the same request coming forward for Burney.
Yes, well,
and short maybe $10,000 to $20,000. Anderson committed an additional $10,000, 20 maybe.
So we did reduce $10,000 from the Burney operations. We have a staff member up there, and Laura can elaborate, but who spent 8 hours a week in non-open hours processing materials, since she's the single employee. And so basically we eliminated that shift, and that's how we achieved the savings in Burney. What Laura alluded to, which may not be clear to those of us that aren't in library business, is that library business, especially in smaller remote communities, is using a lot more non-staffed operating hours. So where you use your library card to get in and check out on your own, where you there might be phone calls that are sent down to Reading instead of at Burney. So there's some interesting non-staff, because really staff time is the hours in the contract that Laura manages, but we would be looking for potentially even where you have holds and things in a less secure area. We're lucky that Burney is one of our safest locations, and there's good community policing there amongst the residents. So we're looking at some, I guess I would probably categorize it as alternative service models that would allow for access and maybe using more technology to do that. Kind of like when you sometimes in cities you go in an ATM machine, you have to use your ATM card to get in the door, something like that with your library card.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe, for allowing me.
Thank you, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard this morning from 11 knowledgeable and passionate people about the Burney Library. And I want to say something that everyone in this room knows. It takes a lot of courage to stand up here in public with Mr. Mangus and the TV channel and make a statement. So let's show our appreciation. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to return this to the board for observation and discussion. And Ms. Rickard.
Thank you, Supervisor Kehoe. I want to thank all of you for coming up down the mountain. I'm up and down there so much I forget which way I'm going. But anyway, I thank you so much for coming. And you know, as a 30-year resident of the Intermountain area, I understand and fully appreciate the need for a functioning library. I can think of absentee owners that have property up there, live in the Bay Area, and they will pull up next to the Fall River Library because that's the only place they can access the internet. And so these are people that are spending dollars in our area, and so we want to accommodate those that come from the outside. Plus, of course, it's such a benefit to those of us that live up there. We utilize our library in Fall River Valley all the time, and it's it's kind of the hub. We have meetings there. We have a little one room that we designate for groups. Some of you I've sat with in meetings, and so I just know from living up there how important our library is, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Supervisor Rickard. Supervisor Baugh, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kehoe and Supervisor Rickard. I want to first acknowledge the champion you are for your district. I applaud that, and I think that's exactly who you should be, representing your community. I've heard a lot of thoughts today, and I'm going to, Kimberly, where you're sitting there, I was thinking back to the time when you were our board reporter as well, and appreciated you very much, always well spoken, and appreciated your articles, always very factual. I also remember the comments and the presentations at the time, and I'll call it the community agreement that was made. We did indeed set aside the potential, and that's the word I'm using, because there was a caveat of $400,000 for a library. But it came with the caveat that an action plan, complete with all relevant financial paths, would be taken to get that money released. And we keep using the word last in, and there's a reason for that. We are not the McConnell Foundation. We are not administering private dollars. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors administers public money. We are not allowed by law to gamble with those resources. So everything must be accompanied by fact, minus the emotion. I'm a library fan. My wife is a former librarian for the Anderson Library, and reads, I think, somewhere around 100 books a year, and is always pushing another book in my direction, trying to get me to read yet one more book. This is the right path to take to find a larger library. But yet I find some things that I'm at odds with in the presentation, and they're pretty clear to me. One is I don't find a clear financial path. I find hope that alludes to that path. But how many years ago were we talking about now? It must be 5, 6 years ago? 5 or 6 years ago, the same audience from Burney said, we're going to raise $2 million, and we'll have it done in a couple of years. And we're going to have all the resources we need, and there's $143,000, which I applaud, in the bank, but it hasn't come to fruition because it takes a huge amount of money. I don't see, and this is just, I haven't looked at your plans in terms of what it might cost. I don't know the details of renovating a new building, but in the county world, with prevailing wage and county resources, nothing can be accomplished for $80,000. I would go far as to say that you couldn't even build a bathroom for $80,000, a handy-capable bathroom, let alone a couple of them that would be capable of receiving the public on a legal basis within that county framework. So $80,000 is very low. I am greatly concerned that money would be placed out there without a clear path forward other than acquiring a building that then would cost, I think our last remodel of an existing building this size was about $1 million. And that was a very conservative remodel, folks. We buy buildings, and we do think that's a good investment to buy and own buildings. but it also has to be followed through with the reality of investing money in those buildings, and that's where this plan lacks some forward motion. I do have a thought though, and I'm going to share it. And I know this is not an action item, Chairman Zia, so I'm trying not to get into, I'm not recommending an action, but I will recommend a thought that I would consider if this were to come back to us. Recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I attended a 10-year celebration of independence from Shasta County in Cottonwood, California, a library that is wholly operated by the community, that does not have to come to this Board of Supervisors to ask for any path forward, any direction. They own their building, they fundraise, it's an amazing system. They have what I would call a community mayor who is elected every year by the simple method of whoever is raising the greatest amount of money for their independent 501c3 is then the mayor representing the community for the next year. At that fundraiser, the County Library, I believe, raised $27,000 for operational expenses for the year. They are not beholden to county government, to the Board of Supervisors, to anyone else other than the community that uses that library. I'm a fan. I said it before, and I still believe that Burney Library should be independent of the county, completely independent. And I see some head shaking, but this is my time to speak and my time to share my perspective. And my perspective is you should not want to come to the county for direction. You should want to be the keepers of your own future. And so here is the little carrot that I'll toss out there. If we were discussing independence from the county, I would be willing to consider this $400,000 as a part of the money for an independent Burney system that separated you from the county system, that we were out of that picture, and you folks were able to design your own future and your own path, and you do not need to return to us. I'm willing to have that discussion. Unfortunately, Supervisor Rickard, and my apologies, this is not aimed at you, I don't think I would be willing to have a discussion to simply allow $400,000 without knowing the future. I haven't been convinced at this point.
Thank you, Supervisor Baugh. Supervisor Morgan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank all the speakers, all the ladies and gentlemen. I really love the postcards, and my one thought is that when the Burney Library is built, I sure hope that you do frame those postcards. I think it would make it a wonderful addition to the library. I think it would make a wonderful addition to all your businesses around the Burney area to show that the children do want a good library where they can study and learn what they need to learn in the future, for the future years. And so that's my one wish for you, that you do not get rid of those postcards, that you do keep them and you do preserve them. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Ladies and gentlemen, Fran, in her presentation, posed a very riveting question. How can we transport this discussion in this boardroom today to become an action item? There are two mechanisms to allow that to happen. Number one, the chair, myself, can unilaterally put it on a future agenda item. I am disinclined to do that without the concurrence of my colleagues. If there is a consensus among the board members today to put this on a future agenda item as an action item, then we will do so. Mr. Baugh, Supervisor Baugh, has suggested to us that we broaden the discussion. I'm amenable to that. It has also been discussed that we allocate the $400,000 at variance with a previous board decision. So I ask you, my colleagues, is there a consensus to move forward and put this as an agenda item at a future board meeting? Mr. Morgan, may I start with you?
Most certainly, Mr. Chairman, I agree.
Thank you. Mr. Baugh?
With a broadened discussion platform, yes, sir.
Thank you.
With
Ms.
all-
Rickard?
Yes, I think with all options that I
Okay.
considered, thank you.
And I agree. Now, I have been informed by county council that we take a formal vote in this matter. So, Ms. Rickard, I'll let you make the motion.
I would like to make a motion that we bring this forward as an agenda item.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion of the motion. Is everyone clear on the motion? Any questions, Mr. Lees? Nod your head. All right. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At a future date then, ladies and gentlemen, this will be brought to the board as an action item. Thank you for your participation this morning, and I think we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Can you watch my stuff? I'm gonna run down.